I'm David Hoffman, your documentary filmmaker, and I'm here to play a 1-minute radio spot, that when you hear it, you will never forget it. It's a very interesting piece of media, and it's an aspect of my history. So I'm a young filmmaker in New York in the 1960s, and I'm winning an award for a short commercial I made on brotherhood. It's one of my first films. I'm 24 years old. And I'm at the awards banquet sitting with my dad, and the guy sitting next to me is a famous audio guy, a genius audio guy named Tony Schwartz. Tony Schwartz did the Daisy commercial in 1964, which was this girl pulling flowers, petals, and counting down to an atomic bomb blast. And it defeated Barry Goldwater. He was working for the opposite side.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
These are the stakes. To make a world in which all of God's children can live, or to go into the dark. We must either love each other, or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd.
So Tony Schwartz says to me, David, are your documentaries true? And my documentaries true? Critical moment in my life career. I said, Tony, nothing is true. Everything is point of view. So are my documentaries true? On one level, yes, my point of view is being presented. But is any documentary true? No. He goes, why don't you come over and see me? I did. And for 10 years, I became his disciple. And we did all kinds of projects together. Tony Schwartz was one of my mentors. And I really believe in mentors. So what's a mentor to me? First, a mentor says things, 1 in 5 of which you go, that's exactly what I think. That's exactly how I feel. The mentor is like way above you in the ability to say something to you that just touches you in a deep way, connected to something you're trying to do or say or understand. 2, the mentor tells you about you in ways you didn't know. You learn a ton. I mean, Tony Schwartz taught me why I was good at doing interviews. Not just that I did interviews, but why. What was it about David that people reacted to by just saying what they think and feeling David's not going to hold it against you and David's going to help you to say it better? That's true. So I'm about to play you one of Tony Schwartz's 26,000 radio spots. And he's the guy who did Coke.
It's Poppy. It is Kathy. Kathy!
Now, what's important about that commercial is the fizz, the sound of the fizz. He was really a sound genius, but he was also an agoraphobic. He did not like going outside, and he didn't go very much past his own block. On the block, there was a police academy, the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and Tony befriended the cops. And he helped them a lot. And Tony also befriended the fire department, and he helped them a lot. So one day I'm there, the fire people come by, and they say, Tony, we'd like you to do something to help us with the public. And Tony, asking the critically right question, says, what is it that's most important that people know about fire, particularly in a city? And they say, close the door. Close the door, Tony says. And he makes this radio spot you're about to see. The radio spot goes viral nationally. I never forgot it. And when I had a fire in my house, my wife, who ran out and saw smoke in my studio, closed the door. I should not close the door. Everything in my house would have burned. As it turned out, my studio burned and some of my things burned, but some of the things got saved.
A fire breaks out on the first floor of a two-family house. Door. The woman quickly leaves to call the fire department. Door. And 2 people die upstairs, overcome by smoke. Door. A man smoking in bed starts a fire. The door. Leaves the bedroom, rushes to a phone. The door. And before the fire department gets there, the door. The rest of his house burns down. The door. Is there one single act that could have been done? Close the door. To help prevent this needless loss of life and property. Close the door. What should these people have done? Close the door. Do you know that a door is one of the best pieces of firefighting and life-saving equipment? Close the door. And if you leave a room that is on fire, close the door. If you simply close the door, it will help stop the fire and smoke from spreading too quickly. Close the door. This life-saving information is brought to you by this station and the New York City Fire Department. Close the door, please.
Hi, my name is Tony Schwartz. I live and work in New York City, and I'm making this tape because my best friend was killed by cigarettes. And whenever anything happens to a friend of yours, you've got to help them, you've got to defend them, you've got to fight for them. And I was moved to fight against the thing that killed him as soon as I found out what was killing him, and I promised him I'd keep it up afterwards.
I laid there in that hospital, and all I could think about was I had always earned a living where I could pay my bills, and all of a sudden I realized I left my wife and my daughter in such terrible shape, and I was scared. So let me tell you what cancer is. Cancer is not what you do to yourself, because you accept it once the doctors tell you, that's the facts. You're gonna die, you're gonna die. You accept it. But cancer is the pain that you see in your wife and your daughter's eyes. Cancer is the pain that I see in my brothers, my mother and father's eyes, my brothers' wives and their families. It's the pain that I see in my close friends' eyes. Cancer is a terror that you would never imagine. And for the past 7 months, I've had days where you live on an emotional edge. If somebody says the right thing to you, you cry because you're happy. If somebody says the wrong thing, you cry because you're unhappy. You just cry. It's a terrible, terrible disease.
I would speak to Ken every day from the day he got sick. I spoke to him every day on the phone. And I told him I wanted to tape many of these calls, and he gave me permission to, and so forth. And even when he was sickest, he wanted to help. Listen.
Maybe I'll still be able to help you. And as each day gets stronger, my voice gets stronger.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll still help you with those commercials.
Here's his straight words, and I'll tell you what happened with them.
I'd like to be able to say, you want to smoke? Go ahead. Go ahead. But damn it, go out and buy a lot of insurance. Because when you find out what the smoking did to you, and that you're going to die, and then all of a sudden you realize that your wife and your children might lose the house, that you don't have the money for college, that you don't have the money for a wedding for your daughter, that you don't know how they're going to support themselves. When you find out what you did, not to yourself, but what you did to them, what condition am I leaving them in?
Well, I made that into a commercial just that way, just saying, listen to a man who has, lung cancer from smoking, and then brought to you by, and I've gotten it run all over the United States. I entered it in the World Radio Festival. It won first place.
If we saved 200 people's lives, I'll tell you something. I'd do that commercial and any other commercial that you wanted me to do from now on.
Since Ken was a very respected police officer. I went to the police department and said, I'd like to do something to get the police to stop smoking, to get his buddies to stop smoking. And we did this spot, which was run on all the police bands.
Let's go.
Right now, I'm living under a death sentence. The doctors tell me that I have maybe 5 or 6 weeks to go because I have lung cancer caused by smoking. When was I smoking that cigarette? I was smoking it every time I went on a signal 30. The danger wasn't in the fact that I responded to so many signal 30s over a 19-year period. The danger that threatened my life as a policeman was sitting in that radio car and lighting up that cigarette.
It was a very sobering message. I think it got to everybody at the point in his life where he knows he's going out of the picture, he's still trying to help us.
When somebody says you only have 5 weeks to live, you know, it makes you think a little.
In conclusion, I want us to say 3 things. The first you'll not understand, and that's this. In the last 7 months, I'm supposed to have cancer, I'm supposed to be dying, and I'm going to tell you I am the happiest man in the world. And I'm the happiest man for the first time because I've never been closer to my wife and to my daughter. I've never been closer to my brothers and my mother and father. I've never been closer to my God. I got a strange feeling that I just might fall into that 1/10 of the 1%.
All right.
But I couldn't get that feeling without you. I sat there as you lined up coming over to talk. I felt like the Godfather.
What are you going to do?
I almost wish I had a ring, you know. I don't know if they were TV cameras or FBI cameras. I do know this. The second thing I want to say to you is that you, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you and the people that I mentioned gave me courage when I was most alone. You gave me hope when I needed it. You gave me back the desire to fight when I had lost it. And the last thing I want to say is, they say that if a man has a single friend, that he's a rich man.
You're wealthy, pal.
Tonight, I am the wealthiest man in the world.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen someone allow his dog to go on the sidewalk? Sometimes right in front of a doorway, maybe your doorway. Did it make you angry? Well, don't get angry at the poor soul. Feel sorry for him. He's just a person who's not able to train his dog. He's just not capable of it. In fact, after he's had his dog for a short time, you know what happens? The dog trains him. So the next time you see a person like that on the street, take a good look at him. And while you're looking, feel sorry for him. Because you know he just can't help himself, even though he might like to. Some people are strong enough and smart enough to train their dogs to take a few steps off the sidewalk. Other people aren't. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If the master is at the top of the leash or the bottom of the leash.
My feeling is that if he hears that on the radio, the next time he's walking his dog, if anyone looks at him, even if they're admiring his jacket or anything else, he's going to think that they've heard this, and they're going to be thinking this about him if his dog does anything like that. So he will not want to be thought of as dumber than his dog.